So now that we have our segues set up, we're going to have to go ahead and set up the view objects on our view controllers. So let's go ahead and add a table view to our view controller first. So we're going to add a table view, and we can drop this right in. And our table view looks like it's too big, but notice if we add a Tableview cell, which is the view object right below our table view here, to our table view, we see that it's going to position this first cell underneath our navigation bar. So we should be okay in terms of spacing here. And we're also going to want to update some of the attributes for our cell here. So we can go ahead and put a reuse identifier of cell in like this, but it's worth noting that when you create your UI Tableview cell, you'll often forget to do this step. So if you see an issue with the UI Tableview cell identifier and it points you to the method self_row_index_path, you probably just forgot to add this identifier. So I went ahead and put cell in here, and later when we implement the method self_row_index_path, we're going to use the same identifier of cell. I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to add an accessory, so I'm going to add a detail disclosure button, and I'm also going to change the style from custom to subtitle, so we can display a little bit more information on this table view cell. So great, we also need two additional bar button items on our navigation bar here. So let's go ahead and type in bar button item, and I'm going to drag two in, one on the right and one on the left. And the one on the right I'm going to say is add task. So when we press this button, we're going to transition to the add task view controller up here. And the other one I'm going to call reorder. And when we press this button, we're going to go into editing mode, and we're going to be able to reorganize our table view cells. And in this way, we'll be able to switch the priority from top to bottom or reorganize the cells in any order we choose. So let's go ahead and set up our add task view controller next. And we're going to need two buttons. We can go ahead and add two buttons here. And let's drag one into the top, and like so. And let's call this first one add task. And the second one we can call cancel. And let's go ahead and add a text field. And we can go ahead and expand that so we have a little bit more room. And let's add a text view. And text views are just basically large text fields that allow us to enter a lot of information. There are subtle differences. For example, we can scroll on our text view. But it allows us to enter in large amounts of information at once. We're also going to go ahead and remove this text here so that we don't default with that huge massive text. And let's go ahead and add a date picker in, so we can type date in here. And let's go ahead and drag this into the bottom here of our project. So our user will be able to select a date as well. I'll drag that up a little bit. So great, now that we have all of these items added, and it looks like we could center that up. Let's go ahead and set up our detail task view controller. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add a bar button item. And this will allow us to transition to our edit view controller, our edit task view controller. So let's go ahead and just type edit in as the name. And we can actually give our navigation bar a title here. So we can call this task details. And let's go ahead and add a few labels and display the information of our task. So we're going to add a label in the top left here. And this will be our task name. So we can just call this task. And we can go ahead and add another one in here. And let's make this much larger because our user might have entered in quite a bit of data for the task details. So let's go ahead and double click in, and we can type in task details. And we're also going to go in our attributes inspector and select the line number to be 0 so that it will automatically create multiple lines for this label in order to display quite a bit of information. Finally, let's go ahead and display our date, and we can call this task date at the bottom here. And we can go ahead and change this to date. And I think actually, you know what, I'm going to move this up above my task details just because I think it'll look a little bit nicer to have the date above my task details. So let's go ahead and position it like this. So the final one we want to set up is our edit task view controller. So we're going to need a label, or excuse me, we're going to need a bar button item. And let's go ahead and add this in the upper right hand corner, and let's call this save. And let's go ahead and add a text field. And we can go ahead and expand this Use our nice blue guiding lines here. And let's add another text view. So let's add a text view right here. We go ahead and expand this a little bit as well, just to give ourselves a little bit more room to type in. And finally, let's go ahead and add a date picker in. So drag that into the bottom here, and that looks really nice. There's one other little adjustment we should make, and we're going to go ahead and select our text view here, and we're going to remove the text again. And let's give this a background color, just because it's going to be really hard to see this text view on a white background. So let's go ahead and just set this to light gray color for now. And let's do the same thing to our other text view in our Add Task View controller as well. So we're going to scroll down, make sure we select background, and we can use the drop down, just select light gray. So now we have all our view objects set up properly. We're going to have to connect them up to the appropriate header files in our next video together.